All right, everybody, welcome back. We are diving deep today, and we're tackling a really popular book, Atomic Habits by James Clear.
Yes.
And this book is, it's been on the bestseller list for a while.
Right.
It's all about how to build positive habits and how to break bad ones.
Absolutely.
And so I think this is going to be really interesting because this has implications
Oh,
for your physical health, your mental health.
absolutely. Yeah, across the board.
Just how to live a better life.
Yeah, and I think what's really cool about this book is that James Clear really takes a scientific approach
Yes.
to habits. And, he kind of breaks down this idea that you don't have to make these huge sweeping changes to your life to see big results.
It's really about like the small...
It's the small things.
Tiny changes.
Tiny changes over time. And he calls them atomic habits because he's like, look, atoms are tiny.
Right.
But if you get enough of them together, you can create something really powerful, like a nuclear explosion.
I love that analogy.
Yeah. And that's the same thing with your habits.
Yeah, so it's really about that consistency over time.
Exactly. Consistency is key.
And like you were saying, it's not about making these massive changes
Right.
that you're never going to be able to sustain.
You're going to burn out if you try to do too much too quickly.
Exactly. So instead of saying, I'm going to go to the gym every day for an hour,
Right.
it's like, okay, I'm just going to start by going 2 days a week for 30 minutes. Something that you can actually stick to.
Yeah, just make it so easy. You can't say no.
I love that.
And then once that becomes a habit, then you can build on it.
Right.
But you got to start small.
Okay, so we're talking about these small changes, these atomic habits.
Yes.
But how do we actually make those stick?
Right. So that's where his 4 laws of behavior change come in.
Okay, love it.
Yeah. So the first law is to make it obvious.
Okay.
So if you want to start a new habit, you need to make it really clear to yourself when and where you're going to do it.
Okay.
So like, let's say you want to start meditating every morning.
Okay.
You might put your meditation cushion right next to your bed.
Okay.
So that you see it first thing when you wake up.
So it's like a visual cue?
Exactly, a visual cue.
Okay.
The second law is to make it attractive.
All right.
So you want to make the habit something that you actually look forward to doing.
Okay.
So maybe you pair your meditation practice with listening to your favorite relaxing music.
Okay.
Or lighting a scented candle.
So you're kind of like associating it with something enjoyable.
You're pairing it with something that you already enjoy.
I got it.
The third law is to make it easy. Okay. So you want to remove any barriers that might prevent you from doing the habit.
To make it as frictionless as possible.
Exactly. So if you're trying to meditate for 30 minutes every day, that might feel really overwhelming at first.
Especially when you're starting out.
Yeah. So maybe you start with just 5 minutes and then gradually increase it.
I like that.
As you get more comfortable.
Yeah.
And then the fourth law is to make it satisfying.
Okay.
So you want to reward yourself for doing the habit.
So you're kind of like reinforcing that positive behavior.
Exactly. You're giving yourself a little dopamine hit every time you do the habit.
Got it.
Which makes you more likely to want to do it again in the future.
So it's not just about like forcing yourself to do something.
Yeah,
you're actually making it enjoyable.
Yeah, you want to make it something that you actually enjoy.
Okay, I like that a lot.
Yeah.
So we've talked about building good habits. What about breaking bad habits?
Right. So for breaking bad habits, it's essentially the opposite of those 4 laws.
Okay, so you want to make it invisible.
Yes. Make it invisible.
Make it unattractive.
Make it unattractive.
Difficult.
Difficult.
And unsatisfying.
Unsatisfying.
Okay, so trying to think of an example.
Yeah.
Let's say I want to stop, I don't know, doom scrolling on social media.
Right.
Okay.
So to make it invisible, you could delete the apps from your phone or at least move them off of your home screen so you're not constantly seeing them.
So you're not tempted.
Yeah.
Okay.
To make it unattractive, you could think about all the negative consequences of spending too much time on social media.
So
like how it makes you feel, how it affects your productivity, your relationships.
Comparison.
Yeah, all that stuff.
Okay.
To make it difficult, you could set time limits on your apps.
There's actually apps that you can use to do that.
Yeah, there's apps that will block you from using certain apps after a certain amount of time.
Like Freedom and stuff like that?
Yeah, exactly. And then to make it unsatisfying, you could unfollow any accounts that make you feel bad about yourself. So that it's not as enjoyable to be on there.
Exactly.
Okay.
So you're kind of reversing the process.
So you're kind of hacking your brain to make those bad habits less appealing.
Exactly.
Okay, Pat.
And I think one of the things that James Clear does really well in the book is he provides all these examples of how these principles have been used
Okay.
in real life.
Yeah.
Like he talks about the British cycling team.
Oh, yeah.
Who were kind of mediocre for a long time.
Right.
And then they hired a new coach.
Yeah.
Who was really obsessed with this idea of marginal gains.
Okay.
Which is basically just making 1% improvements in every area.
So tiny little tweaks.
Yeah. So they changed the type of pillows the cyclists were sleeping on.
Wow.
They changed the hand wash they were using to prevent infections.
Okay.
They even optimized the way they were transporting the bikes.
So it's like everything they could think of.
Everything they could think of.
Just tiny little improvements. Tiny little 1% improvements.
And this was all based on the book, or?
No, they didn't use the book.
Okay.
But it's the same principle of
yeah.
Atomic Habits.
Got it.
Just making these small changes
yeah.
that compound over time.
So the British cycling team is like a real-world example. This habits can actually work.
And it worked. They went on to dominate the Olympics.
That's incredible.
For like a decade.
So even though those changes seemed really insignificant at the time,
right,
they actually added up.
They added up to a huge difference.
Wow. That's amazing.
And it really underscores that the small things matter.
Yeah. And I think that's something that's really easy to overlook because we're always looking for the quick fix,
right,
the magic pill.
We want the overnight transformation.
Yeah. But this is really about playing the long game.
Exactly. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the reasons why this book has resonated with so many people.
Absolutely.
Is because it gives you a framework.
Yeah, that you can actually stick to. It's sustainable. Yeah. And it's not about deprivation.
No.
It's about making small changes.
It's about making good habits easier,
right,
and bad habits harder.
I love that.
And it's about building systems.
Yeah, tell me about that.
Yeah. So instead of focusing on goals,
okay,
you focus on building systems.
What's the difference?
So a goal is something you want to achieve, like losing 10 pounds.
Right.
But a system is the process that you put in place.
So it's a how.
Yeah, it's the how to help you achieve that goal.
Okay.
So instead of just saying, I want to lose 10 pounds, you create a system that includes meal prepping, going to the gym, tracking your calories.
So it's the habits that support the goal.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that.
And the reason why systems are so important is because they help you to stay consistent, even when you don't feel like it.
So even when your motivation is low,
you've got that system in place.
Yeah, you're not relying on willpower.
Wow.
You're relying on the system.
I love that.
And I think another really important point that Clear makes in the book is the importance of identity-based habits.
Okay, what does that mean?
So instead of focusing on what you want to achieve, you focus on who you want to become.
Okay.
So instead of saying, I want to run a marathon, you say, I am a runner.
Okay.
And then you start acting like a runner.
So you're kind of embodying that identity through your habits.
Yes. And when your habits are aligned with your identity, they become much more sustainable.
So it's not about forcing yourself to do something that you don't really want to do.
Yeah, it's about becoming the kind of person who naturally does those things.
I love that.
So it's a really powerful shift.
It's a mindset shift.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
I'm curious, what else really stood out to you from the book?
I think one of the things that really resonated with me was this idea that even a 1% improvement each day can lead to significant growth over a year.
Well, those tiny little changes.
Yeah, like if you read just one more page every day, add an extra veggie to your dinner, or take the stairs instead of the elevator.
Yeah.
Those things might seem insignificant in the moment, but over time they can really add up.
Wow.
And I think that's really encouraging.
It is, yeah.
Because it means that you don't have to be perfect to make progress.
You don't have to make these huge changes.
No, just small, consistent effort over time.
So what we're really talking about here is that small changes consistently applied can lead to massive transformations.
Absolutely. And that's the power of Atomic Habits.
I love that.
Yeah.
So what atomic habit are you going to start building today?
That's a great question.
We hope this deep dive has given you some food for thought and some inspiration to start building your own atomic habits.
Absolutely.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for having me.
And we'll see you next time.
See you next time.